I'm Lavinia Rothschild and we're recording for Make Memories. It's the 11th of September 2018 and thank you very much, Pat, for making your way from Somerset to be with us today.
Pleasure.
Yeah. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself? And then I see you've got a story in front of you about Maker that you'd like to read through.
Right. I was born on the 5th of July 1946. The Plymouth Maternity Hospital had been closed for some time during the war, so I was born in the castle that belonged to Lord Mulmay of Fleet. So I came from rather, high up. Patricia Mary Edwards. I'm now married, and Patricia Mary Atkins. And as I say, born on the 5th of July 1946. So I went to Montpelier Primary School, failed the 11 plus, went to Burley Secondary Modern School, which did wonders for me and set me on a career path, which I think my father died in 1962, which he would have been delighted to have seen, but he was also a retired naval seaman, and from Maker Camp I could look down. He was a senior naval stores officer, and he had charge of a ship moored on the mouth of the Tamar, and he would collect stores from the dockyard storehouses and take them out to the ships, and the ship was called Red Dragon, and often I could see it from Milborough or from Maker Camp. But I'll start my story from my memory. There was never a day that was not sunny at Maker Camp on the Rhine Peninsula. I had just turned 13 and had made it into the school teams that mattered: hockey, netball, athletics, not forgetting the stream team, those selected to prepare for sitting GCE O-levels exams in 1962. Basically then, I was an outdoor type and entirely suited to a spell at Maker Camp. For my stay there in a Nissen hut, for those that don't know, it's a prefabricated, half-cylindrical, corrugated steel structure. My father offered me sound advice for staying in this Nissen hut. As a retired Chief Petty Officer in the Royal Navy, he said to me, "Keep your shoes under the bed, and when you wake up in the morning, always give them a good shake." Why? Snakes! Well, who wouldn't remember that? I did. Wow. Not snakes, however, the next morning. It was just my socks. Then there was the run towards the main barrack block for breakfast. The boys lodging nearby always got there first, but we were all of one accord. Powdered eggs? Well, you'll try anything once. We did, when we found a quick way down the hill from the camp, leading straight onto Kingsand Beach. It became a regular run. We called it the Alpine, because we found sliding down it on our bottoms such fun. On one occasion, we found a blue jellyfish the size of a large dinner plate, gasping its last on the pebbled shore. 3 of us gently carried it to a rock pool. We had never seen anything like it before, nor since have I. Corsand was best for shopping. Here you could always find an inexpensive item to take home for Mum and Dad. I purchased a letter rack with Bambi painted on it. I still have it, somewhere. Home thoughts from abroad, my mum called it. Home was Plymouth, and I remember the day I was given a few hours' leave of absence from camp. I had won a Plymouth Schools Essay Prize and needed to attend a presentation in Plymouth City Centre. To get there, I was first taken by a teacher to catch the Kenmore foot ferry, to take me across the River Tamar to Admiral's Hard at Stonehouse, Plymouth. There I was met by my mother, who had brought a new dress she had made for the occasion, pink and white gingham, like that worn by Brigitte Bardot. I quickly changed in the bus shelter before the trip into the city. A photograph of the presentation appeared in the Plymouth Evening Herald. After the presentation, my mother took me to Jerome's photographer in New George Street to have my picture taken. It was 1 week exactly after my 14th birthday. To this day, I cannot recall what was so special about that essay. I was 12 or 13 when I wrote it. Sunday was special. We trooped off to Maker Parish Church for morning service. I was fascinated. So different from Hope Baptist Church at home in Peveril. Today, views from Rainhead still reduce me to tears of joy. Indeed, many a Plymouth sailor over so many years felt the same as the chapel at Rainhead itself came into view.
So that's a fascinating story and recollection. Do you mind if I ask you a few more questions?
Of course not,
Brought to mind?
Lavinia.
How did you first hear about Maker Camp at school? And how did you feel about that?
It was announced at morning assembly, and obviously, my friend and I, we only lived a few doors apart. We sort of talked to people that had been there before, and we were both outdoors type, and we instantly felt we were up for it. Yes.
So you went with your friend?
Yes.
Yeah, and you saved up to go, or your parents paid for you?
I think my parents paid for me. I can remember that I was, as you go into the main entrance at Maker Camp, I was in the first Nissen hut that you come to on the left-hand side. And when you went in the front door of the Nissen hut, I was the very last bed, the furthest west you could get. So it was, so when I put the shoes under the bed, I was fully aware that I was totally expecting to see something sneaking in there the next morning.
How many girls were there in the...
I think there are about a dozen. I can't remember exactly, but no more than about 15 or 20 at the most, I don't think. Yeah, and most of us knew each other. Yeah, because we all tended to sort of, there were some, quite a few from my school, but I recall that there were some from Penlee, and Penlee was the other secondary modern that I saw girls that I remembered from my Montpellier school days. They lived nearer Penlee and chose to go there rather than the Burley that I went to. Yeah.
So you spent time with them at the camp?
That's right, yeah. And I was catching up and finding out what teams they were in, and I do remember that when we had some sports day, or we were challenged with netball or hockey, we often played with teams from Penlee, and there was another one at Tamerton, I think, a school there. And I just carried my enthusiasm to college when I did a OND in business studies. Right. And I joined the hockey team then, but it was mixed. Yeah. And we played against Devonport Dockyard, and I never had such battered shins in all my life. But that college was just about here.
Yeah. Were there boys there as well?
Yes,
on the camp?
yes.
In the barrack block?
Yeah, in the main barrack block. Yes.
Did you have anything to do with them?
Yeah, I mean, we knew a lot of them. One of them was Jewish, so he didn't go along with us to the Sunday service. But we all worked because we were a mixed class at school. We all knew each other. The only thing we didn't participate in, to my regret, is that these were the days when you girls weren't invited to form a football team.
Yeah, and you mentioned powdered egg for breakfast.
Yes.
Can you remember anything else of the food there?
No, everything was actually quite as I would have at home.
Yeah.
But it's the powdered eggs that I thought, what? Well, all of us, we thought, what is this? You know. But apart from that, it was fine. Yeah.
What did they make the powdered eggs into?
I think it was like scrambled. It's the only thing you could do with powdered eggs, really. Millbrook was nice. We had some little walks around there. And in fact, one of the girls that was in my stream class at Burley, she ended up teaching at Millbrook.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But I don't recall her ever going to Maker. She wasn't an outdoors type and didn't think it would suit her. Or maybe she didn't like creepy crawlies. Well, I was terrified of spiders, but Maker Camp cured me of that.
There were plenty in the dorm. What else can you remember about being in the Nissen Hut?
As I said at the beginning, the sun always seemed to shine when we were at Maker. But I did hear tales of people saying, you should have been here last year, and it bucketed down, and the sound of it was horrendous.
Yeah. What about night times?
Night times, I did suffer from homesickness the first night, and I was really grateful that I happened to be as far away, right at the end of the Nissen Hut, because I didn't want anybody else to think, oh, what a baby sock she is, you know. But it was the first time I'd ever been away from home.
Yes. And did you have any laughs in the evening with the girls?
Oh, yes. Now, we had midnight feasts, but it was whatever we'd managed to purloin at King's Sand or Coarse Sand, and we just shared it all out. We just sort of sat in a ring in the middle of the Nissen Hut. But with it being high summer, you know, it was quite nice outside. We didn't sleep under the stars, but you could just prop your... And of course, the Nissen Hut, because of the way it was constructed, it might have been a bit uncomfortable, but it was nice and warm with all that warmth radiating out at the end of the day. You know?
Did the teachers know you were having midnight snacks?
They must have, yes. Because, I mean, we didn't clean up after ourselves, so it was obvious that we'd been up to something. I don't recall that we were ever prefected. Right. In other words, we did have... I became a prefect, but much later on. And but I don't recall that we had any prefects in our dorm or Nissen Hut. It was all very relaxed, yeah.
And how old were you again when you were at Maker Camp?
I must have been about 13. But because my birthday was in July, I just turned 13. Yeah. And when the report appeared in the Evening Herald, it's got me down there as described as, in brackets, 13. And I was the youngest one in the group, yes.
Yeah. And how did it feel going away for a day from the camp?
Well, I loved it only because it was the ferry. I loved the ferry, and I still do, yeah. And then to get that wonderful dress when I got to the end with my mother, you know, because she was a very good seamstress, and that was great. The essay was sponsored by the Plymouth City Council and the Coal Utilisation Council, and it was how to keep your house warm in winter. Now, you know, I mean, whether my mum gave me advice or my grandmother, or I can't remember, but, you know, maybe when I get into the school records, which I intend to sometime or other, I might be able to, because they've released them now after such a date, I might even find a copy of the essay. But I got a cookery book as a prize. Mm-hmm.
And did you take that back to make with you, or did your mum take it home?
My mum took it home,
right.
Yes, yes.
Was there any dancing or partying? If you were 13, 14, did you have an end of week party?
I don't recall an end of week party. I think there must have been something, but it was, I can remember it was very hot. we'd been running around all day, so by the time it came, and then we had our dinner in the evening, I think we were all pretty much exhausted, to be honest. And the boys went out for boat practice, were taken out there, and they did some carpentry stuff and all sorts of things like that, you know.
So it sounds like it was very much boys doing one thing and girls doing another.
Yes, yes.
It was sort of gender segregated then, and you weren't able to do the football.
No, but that is not to say that we didn't kick a ball around at the back of the Nissen huts, which we did, yes. And we formed our own teams, boys and girls, I can remember. And the young fellow that went on to become our head boy at Burley Secondary Modern, I think he did some time in the army, and then when he came out, he became a ranger at Dartmoor. And he was always organising people, and he was the one that set up our school reunion. Yeah, Michael Cook.
That's good. And you've got a photograph you mentioned.
Yes. This is a photograph. That's that appeared in the Evening Herald. That's me on the far left. And then my mother, afterwards, because it was just a week after my birthday, wanted to, she didn't know it was going to be in the Herald, you know, but she took me along to Jerome's and they took that picture. And on the back, it's got Jerome Limited, 12th July 1960.
Right. So you know when you went to
Exactly,
Maker Camp.
yes.
Have any other sort of memories of Maker Camp? Was there anything negative? Was there anything you didn't like? You talked about the home sickness.
No, I can't remember anything that was negative about it at all. Everyone seemed to get on. Yeah. The teachers, the teacher that most of us found any difficulty with at Burley Secondary Modern. He was an older teacher, and you know he never went. Right. The English teacher was absolutely fantastic. Everybody thought he was absolutely lovely, do you know. And then our geography teacher had taken his teachers, because they fast streamed teachers. They were desperate for teachers after the war. And he lived at the bottom of the road where I lived, and he was our geography teacher. So he went, and I think he had some experience on boats. So you know, took the boys out with the boats. Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
And any love?
And nothing that we ever composed about Maker and wrote down, unfortunately.
Right, unfortunately.
Yeah.
What a shame.
No. Yeah. I think because we were so cramming so much for the O-levels, and a lot of us were taking quite a number of them. You know, you got to a point where you felt a bit fed up with writing all the time. But I regretted not writing anything down about my time at Maker as it happened, because when I was a couple of years older, we had a school trip to Germany, and we were all told that we had to keep a diary. And then we were told that, you know, there will be the teacher or headmistress will be looking at the diaries, reading them, and there'll be a prize for the best one. And I got the prize for the best one. but I was suffering from sunburn because I stayed too long on Boversand Beach. So when the prize was presented for the best essay, I was off school because I was suffering from sunburn. I regret that, missing that. My friend, who also went to Maker Camp, Jane, she picked up my essay prize for me.
Right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your Maker Day.
Pleasure, Lavinia. Yes.